So we are talking about Our Bodies Are Not Apologies. And it's based on this book by Sonia Renee Taylor. I believe there are still a couple copies in the bookstore. The Power of Radical Self-Love. And today it's about shame, guilt, and apology, then and now. And I sat with this and thought, how am I going to embrace that today? And the thing that came to me right away was, how do we live and breathe and have in our existence without the blame and the shame and the guilt? And there is this wonderful book called The Four Agreements, that if you absolutely were to take the Four Agreements and practice them day in and day out, you would not have shame and guilt and blame. There wouldn't be room. And I think I've shared this story. I'm going to share it again because it tickles my heart. I don't know why I hadn't heard of Don Miguel Ruiz's book when it first came out. I had not. And I was doing a retreat, and this woman in the retreat said, let's go to lunch. And we're going to lunch, and she's talking, and she talks about how she lives her life by these four agreements, and she tells me what they are. And I said, how do you remember them? And she looked at me and she goes, oh, for God's sakes, Gayle, there's four. You can remember four. It's easy. Four agreements. And so that's what we're going to talk about today with a little bit of a twist. So the first one is be impeccable with your word. Right? Impeccable is an archery term. And it means without sin. Missing the mark is what it means in archery. Just missing the mark. And so all of us have an opportunity every day of our life to miss the mark a little bit. And yet for us, in our humanness, we tend to beat ourselves up about it, do we not? How many of you think that you're impeccable with your word and know sometimes you're absolutely not? Yeah, I'm glad I'm not alone. And so the word, it's in the Bible. The word was with God. The word is God. I misquoted that. I'm sorry, Cynthia. I can see her little bright eyes over her coffee cup. And yet what it means is there is that word. It's creative. It created heaven and earth. It created everything. It is in, through, and as us. So our word is powerful. And we need to remember that. And I usually talk about, we shouldn't gossip. We shouldn't say bad things about people. And yet today I really thought it's more about us. How we are not impeccable with our word when we talk about ourselves. I hope I am not alone in this. I am my biggest critic. However, if we remember how powerful our word is, and I am my biggest critic, what am I giving people an opportunity to do? Right. If you didn't hear Courtney, she said, criticize me. Absolutely. If I'm going to criticize myself, I have set the energy. Come on, bring it on. Go ahead. Criticize me. Thank God there's 3 more agreements that kind of cover that. However, it would be a really good idea if I stopped. If I just stopped and gave myself the break that I give other people. I am much kinder and give other people more space to make mistakes than I give myself. And I do not believe I am alone in that. If I am, then I'll learn from all of you. So, to be impeccable with our word. When you have an ill thought about yourself, my mentor, Reverend Susie Shadle, used to pretend there was a big button up in the sky. You just push it. Stop. I want to rephrase that. I want to think of a different way to refer to myself. Something that's kinder. Something that when I look in the mirror, instead of seeing me through my eyes, I see myself through the eyes of a best friend or my husband or a community member that I know adores me? What if that's how we looked at ourselves? What if that's the way we really saw who we are as other people saw us? Yesterday, when we were taking this class, and I hope Kim doesn't mind that I share this, she said she had a friend that looked at her and said, "Oh, Kim, I wish you could see yourself through my eyes." Wouldn't that be wonderful? If we could really see ourselves through the eyes of our best friends, our biggest champions, and we really believed they were as fabulous, or what they were seeing was as true as how we see them. Does that make sense? If you gifted yourself that, and it's a practice, is it not? Life is a practice. So give yourself space. Give yourself an opportunity when you beat yourself up, instead of saying, "Oh, now I've gone and done that, and now we're in the rabbit hole." Are we not? Because now I've made a mistake and I'm going to beat myself up for the mistake, and so let's just keep that little gerbil in his little circle and just stop and go, I bet if I rephrase that, I could feel better about myself. I bet if I rephrase that, the energy I put out in the world would be different. It would be more powerful. It would be more true, and it would be better for the people around me. Wouldn't you rather radiate love than radiate an energy of self-doubt, fear, and, whatever we're doing when we beat ourselves up? So to be impeccable with our word. Don Miguel Ruiz says that is the toughest agreement. If I ever get a chance to meet him again in person, I will say to him, "I don't think so. I think the next one." For me personally. You guys get to pick which one's your hardest. And by the way, they say when you can't remember one of the agreements, that's the one you're supposed to be working on the most. Guess which one I forgot yesterday when I was practicing? Don't take things personally. Couldn't think of it. Could not think of it. And I thought, there's the golden rabbit, or whatever we call it. Don't take things personally. Oh, if that were as easy as it sounded. We need to remember that when people talk to us, regardless if it is, "Oh, you are a wonderful, magnificent person," or, "Oh, you just make me ill," it doesn't matter. It's their opinion and it's their projection. It's their stuff. It's not about you. Now remember, you can switch that around also, right? So when I say something to somebody, it's my projection and my opinion, and really doesn't have anything to do with that person. It's how I feel. But if we stop taking things personally, if somebody is throwing darts at you, put on a thicker coat. Because here's what happens. If somebody's throwing darts at you and you feel like you have to defend yourself, I must defend myself. I must tell you why you're wrong. And what you do that makes me right and makes you wrong. Have you ever been in those conversations with people? I wish I could say no, and probably more often than not. The truth is, if you take a breath, you know that old saying, silence is golden? Silence speaks volumes. Silence is more powerful than anything you can say in a text message, on Facebook, or in person. Silence means, okay, you have your opinion, and it doesn't affect me. I'm not going to take it on. I am not going to wear it. I am not going to say anything, because really, it's just your opinion. How much kinder do you think the world would be if each and every one of us truly didn't take things personally? How many of you think you can do that? Okay, good. Because that I'm going to take into my next life with me. It's something that I practice all the time. Sometimes 100%. Most of the time, 50. Okay, maybe most of the time 25. However, I'm working on 50. There is nothing like perfection. It just doesn't exist. And so we're here to practice. If we got all of this right, if we really got everything absolutely right, I think we would be done here. And we'd be moving on to the next plane. This is practice. We get to practice these things. So remember, don't beat yourself up when you get into one of those conversations and you start throwing darts back at somebody that threw darts at you. Just take a breath and tell yourself, next time I'll do better. Next time maybe I'll just practice silence. So the third agreement, don't assume anything. That's one of those, have you ever been in a situation where somebody had said something to you or done something, and instead of saying, gee, Susan, what did you mean by that? You make up a story? We are fabulous storytellers, are we not? Every single one of us here, I believe. I could be wrong. God bless you if I'm wrong. We make up stories. Because our stories really have more juice to them than probably if we said to the person, did you really mean that when you said this? And they would be, they would say, well, I meant this, but, not that. Because we hear with the ears we hear from. Do you know what that means? It means that when you hear things, it is based on everything you've learned since you were a child. When somebody says something to you, they're saying it from their defense of everything that they have learned since they were a child. No two of us, I don't care if you're blood relatives, you're twins, no two of us hear or learn or experience life exactly the same way. And so you get to determine, when you hear something and it hits that button, there's my mother, or there's my best friend when she really got mad at me, or there's my whatever it was when you were a child. It's your child that's responding. It's why we get so wound up. Or we just get wound up because we're adults. I'm not sure, but most of the time it's our child responding. So your 6-year-old is now in an argument with somebody else's 6-year-old. Wouldn't that make you laugh if you really thought about it like that? Like if Courtney and I really got into a heated discussion and one of us just said, oh, we're 6. I would laugh. I would think, wow, we're funny. And we are. That's the biggest thing that you must remember. As humans, we are funny. Just think about it. Think about how we respond to life. Think about how we respond to each other. Think about how we can make a big deal out of nothing. Nothing. We all have those things, and it makes us crazy. And yet if we really started to unwrap it, we would think, oh, wow, I was 6. They were playing Red Rover, and nobody asked me to come over. And that's why I feel this way. And I just ripped poor Susan a new one because my 6-year-old felt abandoned. Wouldn't life be more fun if we really started to look at it like, well, we're all just 6-year-olds. Every single one of us. And that is the truth when we react to things. We are reacting from old wounds. And so to remember that the person that is delivering whatever they're delivering to you If it's painful, that's not their fault. They're projecting how they feel. How you react, that's all on you. So not assuming anything means ask the question if you so desire. Ask, what did you really mean by that? Why did you really do that? What was your intent? The last agreement sounds, compared to the other ones, oh, that's a cakewalk. Always do your best. And I had an experience this morning with my prayer partner. And she's sick. She could barely talk. And I said, are you supposed to speak today? And she said, yes, I am. And I said, so do you have somebody that's going to speak for you? And she said, well, I've written the text. I just haven't pushed send. And I'm like, why not? She goes, well, I don't want to disappoint people, and I'm supposed to speak, and I'm supposed to train people on how to do the PowerPoint. And I said, you will teach your community more about what you're speaking about today. She's speaking about radical self-love. I said, you will teach your community more about radical self-love by pushing that send button and letting somebody else speak for you and climbing under the blankets and taking care of yourself. They haven't had the projector all of January. One more week in February is not going to make a difference. And do you really want to get your whole community sick? See, that's what we don't think about. I must show up and get everybody sick. So that was a lesson. The other lesson that I want to share about always doing your best was one that Diane Dyer shared this morning. And it's empowering. It's for people of a certain age, it's a little heartbreaking because we don't think about the grief about getting older, which was part of what came out when Cynthia taught her class on grief recovery, is there is a certain amount of grief as you get older and you realize your body won't let you do what you used to do. So she has a very good friend who lives in Southern California, and she called him to wish him happy birthday. 71 years old. He has surfed since he was 9 years old. Every single day. And what he came to realize this year was he can paddle out on that board, and then he just watches the other surfers. His body is just not going to let him rise up on that board and ride that wave in. But he's listening to his body. How many of us tell our body, I can do this. I'm tough. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that my knee hurts or my back hurts or my neck hurts. I'll persevere. Always doing your best is to remember to listen to your body. It talks to you all the time. It is telling you it needs to be taken care of. And here's the truth. And B has told this story before. If you do not listen to your body and take care of it, the universe will make sure that you stop and you rest. And if you haven't heard B's story, I suggest you ask her after service today because it's hers to tell. But that was a really big wake-up call for her, that she really needed to slow down and take care of herself. And she didn't, so the universe gave her a little 2x4 up against her head, and she got to take care of herself on a whole different kind of level. And so the 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word, not only with other people. Be impeccable with your word about yourself. Don't take things personally. It's a practice. It is a practice to understand the person that is throwing things at you it's their projection. Has nothing to do with you. As Don Miguel Ruiz says, it's their dream, because he calls our life, each one of us are living in a dream. Isn't that interesting? Don't assume anything. I almost forgot. Don't assume anything. Have the courage to ask the questions when it's appropriate. And then the last one really could be like a cakewalk. Always do your best. And know when your best is to say no. I can't do that today. No, I'm not going to speak today. I'm going to stay in bed and take care of myself because my body is ill. So those are the 4 agreements. Let's pray. You can close your eyes if you choose. And so standing in that light, in that love, allowing ourselves to just feel the energy of the room, that energy of God that is over us, around us, through us, as us. It is the absolute essence of who we are. It speaks to us in all kinds of different ways, through our body, through listening to that still small voice from within. When someone speaks to us, knowing that each and every one of us are living, walking people of the divine. And so knowing right here and right now that we are always at choice. We are always at choice to be that love that is God, or to fall into our very human existence. I know today for each and every one of us, if we choose love. We choose to be that power, that presence, that one. We choose to know that everybody on this planet, regardless of what they're doing, how they're behaving, are doing the best they can with what they've been given. And so we bless them. We breathe in the love, and as we breathe out, we bless them. We allow them to be and to experience life exactly as they choose. And so I know that as we venture out into this week, as we are given an opportunity to experience the 4 agreements, we remind ourselves, if not out loud, then just silently in our mind, I wonder what that 6-year-old is really trying to say to me. And so we allow ourselves not only to be impeccable with our word, with ourselves, not to assume anything, not to take anything personally, to always do our best. We allow others. We give others that space to be who they have chosen to be, to show up how they have chosen to show up, and to just be that power, that presence, that love. And so I give great, great thanks for this day, for this knowing, for this opportunity to experience life right here, right now. I release these words. I let them go. I let them be, because I know as they are spoken, it is done. In the mind of God, there is that big resounding yes. So I give thanks for that yes as I let go and let God, and together we say, and so it is.